Hello everybody, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us. Well, this week is kicking off on a wintry note, especially in the lower half of the South Island, but it's going to spread to most places by Tuesday and Wednesday. But by this weekend, we're back to warmer than average almost in every single region. So it's a bit of a negative start to the week for some, but hopefully a more positive weekend for many others. Let's take a look and see how Monday's wind map is shaping up, and we've added the misery index today. That's cold air plus dampness plus wind equals miserable, and this is really for the newborn livestock around the lower half of the South Island. The areas in blue shading indicates that feels like temperature is getting miserable, it's getting cold, and for newborn stock it can be very, very tough. So this is only just beginning. It's going to continue on for the next few days. You can see where the wind is coming from, straight from the southern areas, but in the north, still coming around as a nor'wester, which is why the eastern side of the North Island is actually fairly mild. This is the rainfall accumulation, and it also includes snow, but we'll get more specific about snow in a moment. But this is all the precipitation expected this week: rain, snow, hail, etc. The areas to really focus on are the areas in red. That's sort of in this zone here, 20 to 30 to 40 millimeters. Now, the positive about this map, there is a positive amongst all this. Some areas are starting to dry out at the moment. A lot of farmers will tell you that the pasture growth has slowed down a wee bit. The good news about this is the moisture is coming into the areas that actually need it the most, and not so much in the areas that have had too much. So the areas that only get a little bit of rain in the blue, green and yellow, well, that's areas like Hawke's Bay and Gisborne, which have had too much rain lately. Same story on the west coast. A lot of rain there lately, but not quite so much at the moment. So hopefully some good rainfall totals this week. Even though it will be cold rain, it should still be helpful, especially when the warmer weather arrives this weekend. Now, the snow accumulation over the next few days, very clearly around the Southern Alps and the ranges of the South Island. There's a very slight change though from last week. It is not quite so coastal around Southland. That's due to the slight shift in wind direction. Could still get very close to sea level around parts of Fiordland, then it moves up, and then a bit of more moisture will be pushed into that southerly around northern parts, and that's why Kaikoura, the ranges around there, are likely to get heavy snowfall totals. So just be aware of that over the next few days, and also a little bit around the North Island. That might also affect the desert road just briefly. Now, this is how we look for Tuesday. We've got two maps for Tuesday. The first one is very widescreen because I wanted to show you the southerly that is coming in to Southland. It is off the Antarctic ice shelf. It is coming in right around that lower part of New Zealand. Now, further afield, while it all looks the same, it is not quite. The further north you go, the isobars are actually coming out of the high. So that airflow comes close to Antarctica, but not quite the same. This is the cold stuff going around this low in the Southern Ocean, and that's the reason why it's Southland and Otago that are mostly in the firing line for the coldest of the year. This is still Tuesday, but closer up, you can see we've got a cold front moving into the North Island, so your cool down is coming. It may not be for everybody just yet, but you'll certainly feel it by the end of Tuesday. And further south, there's another surge of colder air, but look, also plenty of dry as well in the middle. So Canterbury, while Monday's a bit like winter, the rest of your week may not be quite so bad. We get to Wednesday now. Look at the size of this storm. It is an enormous storm in the Southern Ocean, but it spreads all the way up to New Zealand, and it just brushes us, and then you've got the high coming in. That's the next set of windy weather. So the high and the low are working in tandem to dredge up this cold stuff. So it's another showery, windy, cold day. Still plenty of dry spells though, especially for eastern and northeastern facing regions, but again, more snow, and that misery index will be probably at its peak around Wednesday for the lower part of the South Island. By Thursday, there's a very slight warming up because the low is now moving away. The Chatham Islands have got it, and the eastern side of New Zealand a bit cold, but now most of our airflow is coming around this big high. So there's a bit of a change coming because there are nor'westers developing on the end of that. So by Friday, it's all pretty much over, and we're starting to feel a warming up effect of this nor'wester, just a little bit in the South Island after your very cold week. In the North Island, it's still kind of cold and showery and nothing too flash, but the dry spells do increase and the winds ease on Friday. And then by Saturday, look at this, high pressure rolling into the north and subtropical and Australian nor'westers coming down for everybody else. Rain returns to the west coast, warm nor'westers for just about everybody else. So how's that? That's a typical spring week on the way. That is all for me. Good luck if you're in lambing in the deep south. As I say, there is positive news coming this weekend with these warmer nor'westers. That's all from me. Our next update will be on Tuesday.